Nathan Patterson. Welcome to the first Hennhouse Podcast.
Yes, sir. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. When I decided to do this podcast, you were the first person that came to mind, because the whole plan for it was to basically make a podcast talking about what I do, which is SEO, linking up with my clients or with people that I do business with, which obviously you fall in the latter, and then just kind of talking about all around marketing. What are people doing in their business to grow? How am I helping them? And kind of, if I'm not doing something for them, what could I maybe suggest to them that would propel them in the right direction? And so you kind of do the same thing from a different approach, which is one reason that we've meshed really well. So I guess just go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of tell everybody what you do and how you got there.
Yeah, no, first of all, appreciate it that you're thinking about me and my business and what I do, and honored to be on the episode. This is episode 1, right? Or are you going to do like episode 0 or just kind of, this is the pilot? All right,
yeah.
Perfect. All right, awesome. So hopefully we don't crash from here. But yeah, so what I do is kind of like in a similar vein of what your goal is, because ultimately you want to bring people more clients through online discoverability. I think that's the end result. It doesn't matter if you have a beautiful website. It doesn't matter if you have an ugly website, though we prefer beautiful websites. Like, the result is you want to get more clients online. And for me, it's something similar. So I put myself in the consulting space, coaching space, which is I want to accomplish the result that the owner most wants. And I usually put that in 3 different categories. It's either A, they want to grow their revenue; B, they want to increase their profit margins; or C, they want to decrease their time they're spending on the business but get the same result. And ideally, like perfect world, we actually achieve all 3 of those items, because if you have a 4% shift in revenue, 10% shift in profit margins, and if you have a 5 to 10% reduction in the time and what you're doing, it's like that's a huge difference for the business over the long term, and that compounds every single year. So it's making those small tweaks that have big impacts over the long term. And how I got into this is, I've been a serial entrepreneur for several years, and I've always loved creating businesses. I've always loved solving problems. And when I met my mentor, who did that for a living, buying, selling, creating businesses, learned from him, figured out that I have a knack for it and I enjoy it. And I got to apply what I learned in the military into the business world. And it was a good matchup for me. So yeah, I've been enjoying this.
Yeah. Talk a little bit more about what kind of character defining things you took from your time in the military and how you apply that in your business.
I used one of my one-liners. It's not mine. I learned it in the military, but I used it the other day on one of my client calls, and they were having, to keep it vague, they were having an issue with a certain standard being met within their employees, and I hit them with the line of "Don't expect what you don't inspect," which for them meant that they need to do a better job of like following up and making sure those procedures were being followed through, because it just wasn't happening. And so it was like one of those deals where 6 months went by and they finally realized, like, oh my gosh, like this thing hasn't been happening anymore. Like, I wonder what's happening. And they find out, like, oh yeah, like we actually haven't been doing that thing, which was handing out like little cards on site for their events. And so, it took 6 months for that to kind of be realized, which obviously as a business, like that's half a year you're never going to get back. And that's a very big deal. And so for me, like some of the character defining things when it comes to the military is the bottom line up front, which we call it the bluff, which is just the most important thing. So, whenever I'm going into an engagement, whenever I'm going into the conversation, I always have them walk away with a bluff, which is, hey, forget all the noise. This is our priority. This is the one thing we're focusing on right now. This is the bottom line up front that we have to address most immediately. Everything else we can kind of pick up wherever we left off. And so I think it's just kind of, curating the conversations around that, which helps drive focus and helps drive progress and ultimately helps drive one of those 3 goals.
Yeah. I think focus is the biggest thing out of that, is just kind of, and we heard a fellow friend talk about this, Taylor Chastain from Up and Away Junk Hauling, a week or 2 ago, talking about if you're not leading from the front, you're not leading. And so yeah, it's just interesting to hear the perspective of that, because obviously you're very led from the front in a military career. So, like
Yeah.
overly led from the front from what I've seen and heard. So I didn't serve, but definitely what I've heard. So now, kind of talking about what you just said about setting. How can you? I'll quote your kind of motto, which is turning CEOs into FreeEOs, which I always love. It always gives me a chuckle because it's so good. And I'm still working on a catchphrase, and we're not going to say my ideas today. But
I was just about to, but it's your show, so I'll respect that.
I'm still ideating. So, but when you're turning CEOs into FreeEOs, and you said kind of one of your three main things is getting the CEO their time back. How do you lead from the front and also get your time back at the same time?
You have to have good mechanisms of leadership. And a very common thing that I find, which I didn't realize was a common issue until after I started doing the consulting thing, was there's really no set leadership philosophy inside the organization. Inside the military, there's a clear leadership philosophy that everyone is supposed to know, generally speaking. It's not necessarily spelled out in a creative format, but there's hierarchy, there's structure, there's standards, there's everything else. There's there's your overall mission, commander's intent. There's several nesting things inside the military, which from a leadership perspective makes things easy, because if a leader was to be replaced, if someone was the worst case scenario die, they know, generally speaking, exactly what they're falling into, because it should be the same thing across the board. You should have the same leadership philosophy, leadership approach across the board in terms of how you're managing people. And so in the business world, that's usually not the case. It's normally reactive more so than it is proactive. And so we don't find issues until the issues come up. And that is a very dangerous way of doing business, because that's essentially like, if you were to, rely on the market to grow your business, it's like, okay, everything is reactionary at that point. You have no control over your growth. If you're just waiting for people to come to your door, you can do that, but your business is going to look like this, unless like your SEO and what you do is on point, unless, all of your hard marketing, paper marketing you're doing is on point. Like, it's just, you're always reacting. So what I typically do is I'll take business owners through a little bit of an exercise, which is it's a philosophy that I built. It's called Don't Tell Me, Show Me. And it's just built on the thought process of, there is specific things that are communicated, but at the end of the day, you're leading by example. And so Don't Tell Me, Show Me is an acronym. So it's DTME, SME. And so DTME stands for doing, training, managing, evaluating. And SME stands for support, motivate, and empower. All of those things, what they create is a kind of like a self-fulfilling cycle. And so it's having a specific, I'll call it SOP for now, a specific SOP for how you do the things you do. But then also a specific SOP for how you do the things that you train, or how you train the things you do. And then a specific SOP on how you manage how you train and how you do it. And then a specific SOP on how you evaluate what you're training, what you're managing, what you're training, and what you're doing. And so when the problem arises, you can kind of backtrack of, where was the point of failure? Was it, they weren't trained correctly on the standard? Or was it that they didn't get the management piece correctly, and how they were supposed to do the thing on the ground? Like, we weren't doing our inspections. Or was it how we evaluated it? Maybe we didn't have a clear, your result needs to look like this, evaluation metrics. And so on the ground, you have some people doing ABC, you have some people doing ADE, you have some people doing this, thinking that they're getting the correct result, but they're not. So it helps point the leadership where the problem actually is. Because sometimes when we go straight to the action on the ground to say, like, hey, you messed up in this thing, which they might have, but were they trained properly? Were they managed properly? And did they have proper evaluation? So it scales back from there. So how this connects to the time piece is, every business is a people business. And people can either speed you up or they can slow you down. And if you don't have a clear means and a quick means of communicating with the people you're working with on what you expect, how you want things to be done, when you want things to be done, then the conversations you're having are going to be 2 to 3 times longer than they need to be. So that piece right there saves a lot of time, because you can clearly point out the areas of, like, hey, we failed here, or we failed here, we failed here. Perfect. Let's make the changes, write that into the SOP, communicate to everybody, and move on. So that's a big piece of it right there, is just kind of better delegation of people. And it builds into the bigger circle, which is support, motivate, and empower. The most important, I think, is empower, because lots of business owners, this is where I get the moniker from, they want to be chief everything officers. They want to have their hands in everything, Like, it doesn't work. First of all, you're not the best at everything. And you need to trust the people that you've brought onto your team, that they're good at what they do. And if they're not good at what they do, we either train them up to be where they need to be, or B, or C, or B, we let them go and bring someone else in who is proficient. And so the empowerment piece is just enabling the people that work with you to be able to make decisions on the ground that are meant to create the best possible solution for the business. And so that kind of helps. Now it's not just you, the business owner, who's iterating. Now it's everybody at every echelon. They're all iterating, trying to improve the business to the best of their abilities, because everybody benefits from it.
Do you think empowerment's the hardest step?
It is, because not everybody is capable of making good decisions. And that's sometimes difficult, and sometimes very easy for some people. They want to give some people the reins on certain tasks, and others they want to take them away. The empowerment piece is also difficult, because if you provide too much power and they really mess something up, then that's a risk, or a pretty big risk the business can take on. So it is, I would say, the highest risk, but also it is the most rewarding. And you can manage the risk to certain degrees.
For sure. Yeah, because I've seen firsthand the reluctancy to delegate. And I always wonder, is that a trust issue on the business owner's part, or are they scouting the wrong talent?
It's probably a combination of both.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that you can train up anybody to proficiency. It's just a matter of how much time you want to spend training that person up.
Yeah.
And, and
I've heard Hormozy say that over and over. It's an interesting concept. He's like, I can probably teach you to do anything, but is it worth both of our times to get you to that level? And there's a lot of cases where the answer is probably no. And that person could better serve in a different way, or just not be a good fit.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question would be not a personal question, but a question for myself. I have been so blessed this year that I've gotten so many clients that it's starting to reach a point where I'm really considering bringing somebody on. Let me think, how do I want to ask this? How do I know when it's definitely time? And what are the top 3 things to look for in a first employee?
I'm not going to say top 3 things to look for in an employee, because that really depends on the kind of role that you want to bring on. So I like to first talk about the role of what that individual is expected to do. Because at the end of the day, when it comes to expanding manpower, their task is to do one of 2 things. It's either to make money or keep money. And that is it. And so whichever category they're in is going to a little bit determine what aspects we need to look at. But let's talk about the making money aspect first. So this is an exercise I do especially for the smaller businesses. I take the owner, we calculate exactly how much time they're spending on the business on a monthly basis. And then we look at the owner operator income, and we literally calculate how much they're paying themselves per hour to do certain things. And so when you have a up and coming small business, you could have that owner paying themselves $100, $200 an hour to do social media posts. It's like, okay, is that a very good use of time as a business owner?
Right.
Probably not.
Right.
The market rate for that same position is probably anywhere on the low end, $20 an hour, to on the high end, maybe $30, $40 an hour. It depends on who you're bringing in for that role and their experience and background. And so we look at those metrics, and let's just say it was $20 an hour is the fair market rate, and you're paying yourself 200. So you're paying yourself 10 times more than you need to for a task that someone else should be performing. Now, the social media side, I bring that up because that has kind of two functions to it: is making money and keeping money, because you have more online authority. People can discover you easier in the different platforms and everything else. So they're bringing people in, and they're also helping people stay. But the next part of the question would be, if it was a social media person, how much has social media brought in currently, revenue-wise, on a monthly basis? And so we calculate that out. So it's like, okay, if it brings in $10,000 a month comes in through social media, great. And that's you currently doing it. It brings in that amount. And so what happens if we bring somebody else in? So I usually like to estimate, like, they'll perform at a 70% rate of where you currently are in the near term, first and second quarter. They'll probably get up to a 90, 100% rate. And if they're really good, they'll, 120% rate if they're like locked in on what they're doing. But I usually assume that they're going to perform at a lower quality than you do initially. So if we're making 10,000, we'll estimate, okay, that person can probably bring in 7,000. Then we calculate how much time do we need to pay them, or how many hours we're paying them, how much we're paying them. So we can kind of do the calculations of, okay, I'm paying out this to bring in the person. I can expect this in the first or second quarter in terms of performance, and that's where I'm going to be. And so then the question becomes, do I need to hire more of those people, or do I need to not do this at all? Because if I'm making 7,000 and it costs me 7,000, it's probably not the best first role to bring in. So I typically try to focus on like the money making aspect side for growing businesses on the smaller side. And then on the operational side, or I should say money keeping side, that's for the bigger businesses where they have a lot of holes they need to plug. So if that makes sense, that's kind of just the equation that I use to figure it out.
Yeah, just for more context of where I'm at. And just for everybody else to know, my main offering is local SEO. So most of my clients are local businesses, not necessarily local to my area, but local to their area, that provide a service or have a storefront in the area and want more customers. And so the way that I provide my SEO services are starting everything with Google Business Profile. That's number one. If you don't have a Google Business Profile and you are a local business, not good. I don't know how else to put it.
A couple of shout outs on that, because I remember the first meeting I met with you on, and you showed me a couple of things when it comes to the Google Business Profile, and it blew my mind. I was like, oh wow, it's like, and some of those simple stuff too, which is like the best things, and it's just like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So that's really something that I
tell people all the time, and I don't like gatekeeping stuff, because SEO really is so simple, and there's a lot of people in the industry who act like it's this like just crazy thing. But if you start watching people like Edward Sturm, David Quaid, who are two of my idols, that I literally watch Edward Sturm every single day. SEO really is, there's only a couple factors. For local SEO, it comes down to proximity, relevance, both topically and geographically. And so the way that I achieve that is obviously creating the Google Business Profile. And then I use a website to further show Google that you actually provide the services that we're saying that you do, where you say you do. So a roofing company, for example, I'm going to make their Google Business Profile. I usually try to get 30 total services and 5 categories. That's a big mistake that a lot of people make, is when they create their Google Business Profile, they add 1 category and 3 services, and they never touch it again. So now Google thinks you do 1 category and 3 services. So if you only said roof replacement, roof repair, and emergency tarping, then you're never going to show up for soffit repair, which you probably do in a lot of your roof replacements. And so I found that 30 is a happy medium for being specific enough, but not spreading yourself too thin, and gives Google a really good web of understanding for the services that you provide, where you provide them, which helps people get recommended. So I've literally had customers where they only had 5 services. We got up to 30 that we chose together, and within 3 weeks they were like in the top 3 for their entire area. And that's not even like I hadn't even touched the website yet.
Yeah, that's not even a website.
Yeah, website is literally supporting content, and it definitely depends on what niche you're in. Like a roofing company in Atlanta is going to be a lot harder than a basket weaving company in like South Georgia, because realistically, you're probably the only one. And so it definitely depends on that too, on the competition, and there's extra things that can be done to propel that. But It's really simple. It's like, are you talking about what you want to rank for, and are people recommending you? Also, brand mentions are becoming a huge thing now. I think even more so than backlinks is what a lot of people are saying. And so I've been, which means, for context, you know what a backlink is. A backlink is when another website actually provides a link to your website. Whoa, what just happened?
You did a gesture.
Whoa. This is cool. We're still learning how to podcast, guys. But that was crazy. A backlink is an actual link from another website to your website, but Google is now giving more value to just even being mentioned on someone's website. So if I just put on my website that Onyx Council is awesome, Google takes that super literally, as well as LLMs like ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini and all that stuff. So we're working for a mix of both now. The more times that you're mentioned across the web, the better chance you have of ranking both your map pack in LLMs and as well as in the blue links, which are kind of starting to go away, but we're still pushing for it as of now. Anyways, back to what I was getting at. I spend a ton of time creating the Google business profiles. Each one takes multiple hours, and I'm paying myself a certain amount of money per hour, where that could eventually be delegated. And so that's kind of what I'm looking to. And even the guy who I was talking to about potentially doing it for me was like, yeah, this is something that like you could be out selling more while I do this. And I was like, yeah, I definitely could. So, and it was kind of a wake up moment for me too, of like, yeah, we're getting really close to having to bring somebody on at least part-time to help me out with that, because I like the more customer facing stuff anyway than I do like the kind of repetitive back end stuff. And then obviously working on the website and designing, which is my background. So I love that part.
Yeah, I think that's where the most important part is the time replacement. It's not even really like the cost of time. It's just like, what are you going to spend that time on instead of, doing the Google business profile stuff? Because a lot of the early on mistake is like, okay, I hand that thing off and it's like, all right, kick my feet up a little bit, take a little breather. Joe's over there. He's going to handle that. It's great. I'll inspect his work when he's done. Let me, catch up on some YouTube and some other podcasts. But really it's like, all right, that becomes a sunk cost. So like the most important thing is like what he mentioned is getting back out there and prospecting. And that's so long as you have a pipeline that's big enough to do that in. So, it's kind of like a two-part equation of like, okay, I've gotten to a point where I don't have enough time to get to the pipeline I want to get to. And at the same time, I could recapture some of the time I'm spending on Google business profiles and divert it over there.
Yeah. I'm glad you said that, because I think that's a big issue that a lot of business owners have is they hit a certain milestone and then they're like, yeah, they kick back and then they're like, wait, now there's no business growth now because I've been watching YouTube. And it's so funny too that you mentioned that, kind of a tangent, but so I've been in talks with somebody to do this for me, like I said, and then the other day Gemini added a Google business profile connection to their chat. And then I was messing around with it yesterday and I was like, ooh, this is kind of cool. I might actually tell him I'm not ready for him yet because I can do it like this for free, because in theory you can go in there and say, here's my 30 services for this profile, add them with descriptions. And so I had just created a profile, and so the services were already there. And I went in and said, add a locally relevant description for each service. And it listed out all the descriptions and said, confirm you would like to follow through with this. And I said, I confirm. And then it said, confirm you would like to follow through with this. And I said, I still confirm. It said it the third time. I'm like, what is going on? So I go check the business profile. It had deleted all the categories and services. So I'm like, man. So I had to redo it again. So I was hoping to have found the Holy Grail and go tell this guy, well, I can do it for free now, way faster anyway. And yeah, we still need people. That just goes to show that AI is not as smart as everybody thinks it is. So
yeah, it's definitely not. It's not doing the takeover. It's more enabling than it is taking anything over. Like it's just enabling people to be more efficient, or in some cases inefficient, because it undoes some of your work.
I mean, it added 3 hours to my day yesterday. So
that's brutal.
Not 3, probably 2, but still, you try to save time and then you double your time. But yeah, I think another interesting concept is I don't think a lot of people understand how AI works and what it actually is.
Yeah.
And so a quick rundown of that is basically anytime you look up something or ask ChatGPT something, all it's doing is semantically rewording that question or whatever you put in there anywhere from probably 5 to 20 times, and then Googling it for you and delivering you a summarization of the results. And so that is to say that ChatGPT is not this all-knowing thing. It just is a faster Googler. And so one thing that we're seeing a lot in the SEO space right now is LLM manipulation. So I could get you and my 20 other clients to all go on their websites and make a listicle article called top 10 SEO agencies in Georgia, and I'll put me as number 1. And all of a sudden ChatGPT says that I'm the best SEO guy in Georgia. Because when it went and looked up best SEO guy in Georgia, I was number 1 on 20 different people's websites. So it must be me, right? And that's something that I think is really interesting, is that you don't think about it unless you're really in the space. But ChatGPT can't hire an SEO guy and evaluate their services and the outcome. Yeah. And the same thing, AI doesn't need a roof replacement. So how would it know? And so I think when that clicks for somebody, like I'll tell people that sometimes, and you see this thing in their eyes happen where they're like, oh, it's not this like thing that's going to take over the world next year. It's really not that smart. It's really a regurgitator.
Yep.
And so I thought that'd be cool to share.
I'm glad you said that, because especially right now, everyone's pushing AI. And I think that's part of the number one questions I get, especially when I start introducing like the time piece of rescuing that business owner's time. Their first thought is like, oh, you're doing like AI automations. It's like, actually, no, I haven't recommended an AI automation to a single client I've ever served ever, and I've still recaptured time. And and one of the pieces of it is, if you don't know AI to the extent of like you just described, you can assume the things and recommendations that it gives you is just correct. And I'll give you an example. It's just funny. I was telling someone else about it. I'm really good with numbers. It's just I'm not like some savant, but like when I see something, I'm like, I don't think that's calculating correctly. I'm usually correct. And I was doing some like business projection calculations through Claude. And I didn't know this, but I'd corrected Claude so many times on a lot of the math that it had given me. I was like, no, that's incorrect. Like, you're not computing this correctly. Dozens of times. And I was right probably 9 out of 10 times. It had gotten to a point where I was consolidating some stuff and putting some memory files together for Claude, so that way I can take it into another project, where Claude had made its own memory, and it said, if Nathan questions your math on anything, he's probably correct. Don't argue with him. I should have taken a screenshot. That was
that's amazing.
The memory file. And so, but it just goes to show, to your point, like AI doesn't know everything, and it absolutely can and will get things wrong, and you for sure need to double check it.
The funniest thing is when it doubles down too.
Yeah.
Like I remember I was testing models early on when you could like add images, and it was they were starting to claim that it could understand images. And so I would tell it, I would send it a screenshot of the daily Wordle and say, solve today's Wordle. Here's how it works. If there's a green, I don't even remember how Wordle works now.
Yeah, green is like right letter, right spot. Yellow is like right letter, wrong spot.
And gray is not in the word. Mm-hmm. And it was literally just suggesting anything possible. And I said, okay, I'm going to tell you again. If it's gray, it's not in the word. And it would just give like a full gray word. I'm like, and none of the models could figure it out. And then it was like, but then like I said, it would double down and say like, no, it's definitely this answer. I'm like, no, it's not. But it's we're not there yet. We're years and years away. Mm-hmm. Even Fable, which we got blessed with for 3 days before it was costing me $5 a prompt and doing the same thing as Sonnet. So Okay, I want to. Well, actually, speaking of numbers, real quick, I want to ask you, what metrics should every business owner know off the top of their head?
Mm. Um, that'll vary slightly by industry, but ultimately, like the first thing you have to have down is your pipeline. So your lead volume rate, your closing rate, and I like to add this in here too, which is kind of like two subcategories, but still relevant: your review rate and your referral rate. And so I like to compact all of those, and I get that data for every single assessment that I do with the business, because this is going to tell me where we're going to be 3, 6, 9, 12 months from now. And it also gives us trends. So if we want to look at, or if we're trying to find an answer on a problem, so if they're like, hey, things are slow in May, my first question is, okay, are things typically seasonal around this time? Like, no, like last May we were killing it. It's like, okay, well, what was your leads for this month? Like, well, I think we had a good amount of leads. I think we had like 20 leads come through. It's like, all right, pull up the list.
Yeah,
it's like,
I think.
well, we actually only had 5. It's like, okay, well, where do those 5 come from? It's like, they all came from our website. So where do you typically get most of your leads from? Well, most of our leads are typically from referrals. Okay, so then what happened last month? It's like, okay, let's pull it up. I think we had this, and so it's really having a dialed-in lead pipeline. So your lead volume rate, closing rate, your referral rate, and review rate. So by looking at those, we can see trends before they start happening. We can see that slow season coming upon us before it starts happening. Because typically, like the clients we have today are present because of actions we took 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months ago, and so when we took those actions, things got busy. Once things got busy, those actions dropped down. Once those actions dropped down, our pipeline started to decrease. So
fizzles out.
Yep. Exactly. So that's typically
100%.
the first spot I would go through.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to kind of go into what we were talking about the other day, and something that you mentioned a lot at our networking groups and stuff, which has really resonated with me. And one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on first, this concept of doing more as a business. Which you say a lot. Actually, you want to run through your what ways to grow or scale a business real quick, and then we can kind of jump off from there.
Super simple. Do more, do different, or do a combination of those two things. That is it. So where do you want to start with that?
What I want to focus is doing more as far as marketing goes, I think, today on this podcast. So kind of to kick it off, when should a business invest in marketing? When should a business invest in marketing? When do they know they're ready?
So you're talking like what, paid advertising, or are we talking, manpower doing door knocking? What would you classify as marketing?
Well, I classify SEO as marketing. So I would say any way of getting somebody to know about you where they may become a customer.
Yeah. So I take it in stages when it comes to marketing, and I'll tie this into the do more, do different, or do both. So first and foremost, it's kind of like if you want to create like a social media presence. Some people ask you like, okay, well, should I do TikTok? Should I do YouTube? Should I do Instagram? Should I do whatever other platforms there are out there? Should I X? I always want to default to Twitter when I say that. And should I do MySpace? I'm gonna age myself a little bit.
Wow.
So the answer is, and this is my favorite answer, I don't know. Which ones have you tried? It's like, I've done everything on YouTube so far and it's done this. It's like, okay. And the question becomes, do we think we can improve YouTube? Is it, does it have to do with their hook? Does it have to do this? Does it have to do with this? And there's too many. I say business is just as much a science as it is in art, as it is in art. We have to iterate, and retest and retry. And so early on for a business, I would, to as much as you can possible, you want to duplicate the efforts you're already putting forward. And so if you're creating a piece of marketing material, let's just say it's a video, then I would say optimize that video so it can go on any platform. And the reason you want to do that is because you want to try out every platform to see which one's the best for you. It was the same thing I was doing when I was getting into some initial marketing stuff for my business. Is I put everything everywhere, and I found the ones that was getting the most traction for the same quality, same effort I was putting out there, and said, okay, I'm just going to put my content here now. And for me, that answers with TikTok, and so I was just doing a lot more, TikToks and getting more followers and things through that channel. until I eventually stopped doing TikTok because most of my in-person stuff was doing way more than my TikTok stuff. So when it comes to like early stages, you want to, again, make your efforts as duplicatable as possible. If you're putting out a piece of content, it can go out across all the platforms. Now, when we're talking about putting money towards things, that just becomes like a risk equation. And the risk is, are you okay losing this $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 and never seeing anything back from that? Is that going to collapse your business? If it is, then it's not a good investment, and you need to do something more in the organic slash, just putting in more time to get the results that you need, whether that's doing in-person stuff or any of the free stuff that you can possibly do. How this ties into the do more, do different, do both is I talk with a lot of owners, and as soon as I mention anything along the lines of doing more, they immediately pull back and it's like, I can't do anymore. I'm already at my limits. I'm at my capacity. It's like, I hear you. Yeah, but we're going to do more. Well, how are we going to do more?
Yeah.
Here's how you're going to do more. You're going to stop doing that thing that you've been doing for 5-10 hours a week that doesn't do anything for your business, and you're going to start doing this thing. But if that thing isn't making you any money, this thing will. We need to do this thing. So we're going to do more of that. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes it's just a redirection of the time and efforts you're putting into one thing that you thought was important, or maybe it's a thing you like, and that's typically what it is. You kind of gravitate towards like, I like doing this thing, and I don't like doing this thing, but the thing you don't like doing is the thing that's going to be most important for your business.
Right.
It's like, okay, let's shift over here. So
yeah.
I
want to kind of answer the question that I asked you. I want to give my perspective on your social media answer, because we're in a day and age where it's so easy to post on every platform. And so if somebody asked me, should I do Instagram? Should I do Facebook? Should I do TikTok? Should I do Twitter X, Threads? My answer wouldn't be, I don't know. My answer would be yes. Because there are $20 a month programs now that can repost every single thing on every platform for you.
Yeah.
Or where you can even format lists. So like, for example, let's say that I clip this part of the conversation that we're having right now about social media, like meta, this is going to get clipped. I can run this through whatever, ChatGPT, let's say, and say, I want, obviously there will be a video version that would go on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, what else? Facebook, Instagram. Those are basically the main ones. But then I can also say, here's the transcript, make a LinkedIn post, and then make a Threads length post, make a X length post. We can put that same thing on Blue Sky. And then we've turned one piece of content into a piece of content that is adaptable for each platform, that is more likely to work on each platform. Then not only do you have all this different content up, but Google's also seeing all these different posts, and they're all talking about the same thing, but in a different way, which builds up the context. And YouTube is a big one. And full transparency, one of the reasons that I wanted to start this is because Google's using YouTube transcripts now for Google ranking data. And so if I'm talking about myself, if you're talking about yourself on here, and Google is looking for, obviously, in a world of AI slop websites, Google is looking for real content. Now, where's it going for that? YouTube, long form podcasts, Reddit, Quora, where real people are still talking. Now, Reddit's getting a little sketch now, but I just watched Edward Stern posted a short before this saying that Reddit is really cracking down now. And that's been my experience too. I've been having an issue with some of my Reddit marketing clients. But we'll pivot. But just building up every kind of context that you can now, with the way that these LLMs are deciding who to talk about and who to recommend is everything. So just by having this one conversation, I can then set up an automation if I wanted to that not only makes the posts, but then posts them for me. And so we're getting into an age where people don't have an excuse to say, I don't have time. Because we'll eventually arrive at a state where all we have is time. And all this stuff can be done so much faster, with less people, with less overhead. And so that'd be my answer from a topical relevance standpoint, and from the way that Google is now choosing to rank people, and as well as LLMs.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that would be the social stuff. And then, I think, yeah, a big thing about paid marketing is how you frame it to the customer too. Is like, look, this can become a bulletproof thing, but the platforms that we're using, and me and you are both dealing with this right now. The platforms that we're using don't know anything about us and who our ideal clients are, and so unfortunately, they can't figure that out for free, and they're not going to use their money. So that's just kind of the way that it's got to be. But once it figures it out, it can be a pretty lethal weapon. So it's really cool when something finally clicks and you're like, okay, my ad was good, and Meta figured out who to show it to, and I actually got a lead, because it's a never ending cycle, right? It's like, is the creative good? Is the copy good? Is Meta finding the right people? Are they actually landing on the landing page? Are they actually giving me their information? When I call them, are they saying, I didn't fill that out? Well, so now we got a lead that doesn't even want anything to do with us for some reason. Yeah. Or you go out for a roofing company, you might go out and inspect their property, and they thought they had damage and there's nothing. So it's like, so now we had a $300 lead that doesn't work. So it's exciting when it clicks. And it's cool to see that switch flip, especially for contractors who aren't on the tech side, and have never seen something like that happen before, where they understand the power of paid marketing. It's really cool.
I think, yeah, seeing the full cycle of that is always a beautiful thing, because it's like, oh, this is how it's supposed to work. Like, yeah, and it's incredible. And I'll qualify my I don't know a little bit earlier as, when you initially get into the game, do it all. Like, do everything. There's no reason not to. And the way that I like to kind of visualize it is, not only do like individual platforms have performance, but this goes what you're saying with meta advertisements and getting to the right customer. Your ideal customer might not live in that platform, but that platform might have the best performance results. You might get the most views, you might get the most likes, you might get the most comments, and get 0 customers. Whereas on the other platform, where you're getting almost no views, no likes, but for whatever reason, your ideal client lives on that platform, and so you get the most amount of deals from that, even though, like, comparatively speaking, and how they look at metrics, it's like a super low performer, but you still get the highest amount of clients. And so I think, kind of going back to what you had asked earlier about like the metrics you want to track, after sales pipeline is going to be your your revenue channels. So it's going to be like where those clients came from, because some businesses will find out that they're spending a whole bunch of time on this one thing, and it's like, we've gotten 2 clients from there in the last 4 years, and this other thing where we're getting 10 clients a month, and you're spending a tenth of the time over there. Let's optimize that and like bump that up as much as we can. So yeah, and plus, going back to the time piece, and this is where like paying for marketing is important. These platforms like producers and consumers. So if you're only on there posting, you're never on there interacting, you're never on there commenting, you're never on there like engaging or following other profiles, the platforms recognize that. It's like, oh, okay, like you're just putting out a whole bunch of slop. And so they will literally throttle your posts, because that's all you're doing. You're just posting, never interacting. So yeah.
One thing against what I said about like automatically posting everything too is I do think that certain platforms see that you're posting everything from a shared IP address, and they don't like that. Yeah. So I think there are some services now where you can pay for a dedicated IP address, but there are people who say that it's in our head and that it's just social media. The algorithm isn't picking you. And then there's other people who are like, no, I literally like posted automatically every day for a month, and then I posted organically on a different account, like every day for the same month, and the results were wildly different. Like, yeah, all other things being equal.
Well, Facebook is 100% clear, transparent about it. Like, if Facebook tells you if you put out a post that even feels similar to a post you've already made, they throttle it. Facebook wants or unique content every single time. And so if Facebook picks up on, for example, you posted something as a short on YouTube and it's the same short you post on Facebook, if those get connected, which oftentimes they do, Facebook will throttle it on Facebook because it's not unique. It was a copy and paste from another platform. So like Facebook Meta, they say that clearly. So it's like,
that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder why they want exclusive rights to a particular piece of content.
I think it just comes down to like controlling their audience, because if their audience feels like they can go to a different platform to consume the content they want to consume, then the people will go to the content that they're most familiar with or like to use the most. And so if Facebook already knows they're competing with YouTube, and so like they're trying to do their own like organic content, live content, similar video content, they're doing the reels and everything else. So they don't want to compete. So that's why they kind of force the creators to bring their audience to that platform, because that's where Facebook wants them to be.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. You wouldn't want people to go to other platforms if you didn't have to.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, from an SEO standpoint, I'm not even that worried about engagement as much as I am as just spreading yourself to all the platforms that you can. Because what we're seeing now is that more than ever, a lot of the things ranking on page 1 of Google for any search query is UGC. So stuff like LinkedIn posts, like Instagram posts. And so like for any shorts that I make from this podcast, not only will I post the short video, but the caption will be the transcript of the short video. So Google has double context. And so that's more the approach that I take. Sure, there's a happy medium, but I'm all in on SEO. So
yeah, and you
that's
should
what
be
I like.
Bottom line is discoverability. Would you rather be discoverable in 6 locations or 1? 6, obviously. You know what I mean? So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Another thing, just to piggyback off that too, another thing I'm experimenting right now is using subdomains for very particular styles of content related to any given business. So one in particular that I'm messing with right now that it's too early to tell, but I've heard good things about it, is consolidating all of a company's reviews to its own subdomain, and then publishing that on the main domain. And I'm using basically insert business name here, reviews.com, which redirects to that subdomain. It is said to influence LLMs positively when they're looking for trust signals about any given business. So if somebody looks up like, is so-and-so legit, or so-and-so reviews on ChatGPT or even on Google, if it sees all those reviews consolidated in one area and then also linking out to the platforms where they're from. So like for a home services company, for example, there's going to be Google Business Profile, Angie, Home Advisor, shingle manufacturers have their own reviews stuff, and the list goes on and on. So consolidating all those is something that I'm messing with. Maybe I'm sure we'll do this again, and I'll report back and see. I'll let you know how it's going.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear the results of that. That sounds pretty neat.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I think I really like the idea of buying a domain and then having it redirect to a subdomain, because then you're injecting more authority to the target domain, but you're also potentially building up a second domain as well, which is only going to better serve your main domain. So it's a really cool concept. I'm excited to see what happens. SEO experimentation is really cool.
Yeah.
So we talked about when to invest in marketing. Now, my next question would be, in your opinion, what should be the order of marketing strategies from, I guess, beginning to like end game kind of marketing strategies?
Are you talking about how you're putting your brand out there, or like what?
Sure. So like here's a broad example. A roofing company with no money might start by knocking doors. And then once they have a little bit of money, they might start buying some leads from a reputable company. Then they might start running their own ads, and then they might get a billboard. So what, I guess, let's talk about local businesses. I guess home serve. Well, I'll let you answer how you want.
Yeah, no, we'll do the roofer example because I think that fits.
Cool.
Because roofers are, I like the category because pretty much all forms of marketing applies to them. The real simple answer is do what's most profitable. And so a lot of businesses, they'll try and jump into everything all at one time. They'll do postcards, they'll do, geo-fenced advertisements over specific neighborhoods, they'll do door knocking, they'll do, everything they possibly can, right? Google local service ads, they'll do Facebook meta ads, they'll do everything. So they have all these things going at one time. And they have business coming in, they have leads coming in, their cash flow picture is not really clear, their return on ad spend is not really clear, and it's a jungle, and so they kind of create a monster for themselves. And what happens is when things get really tight, they start scaling back to things that cost them the most. And so they might scale back the mailers. It's like, oh, okay, well, we can't, keep paying for that, so we'll take that off. The first budget cut item, as most businesses choose for whatever reason, is they stop spending money on paid advertisements, and they just hold on to that money without first doing the calculation of if that was their most profitable means of keeping their business alive. So the answer is, to keep it simple, do what's most profitable, and the only way you can know it's most profitable is by measuring it. And then next to profitability is scalability. So scaling up advertisements, especially like meta advertisements, is easy. Like you can go from $1,000 a month to $10,000 a month by typing in a field, and the rest should play through, given that the performance of that ad remains the same, though there is kind of a trailing effect that happens over time. So it is that easy on the paid advertisement side. But if you're talking about the door knocker equation, well, now you're talking about like sales skills, and you're talking about the training time, and you're talking about the neighborhood saturation. For storm chasers, storms only happen in certain locations. If you're just knocking every single house, there's several 100,000 homes you can knock, but not every house is the right kind of house you want to knock on. So it's just those two factors of profitability and scalability. And so if we find out that, hey, on the door knocker side, we knock 200 doors, get one house, then at that point it just becomes an equation. Okay, can I pay 10 dudes to do that? And if I pay those 10 dudes to do that, getting that kind of return on that amount of homes, is it worth me? Is it still profitable to the business? Harder to scale up, still profitable. So I think that's kind of the direction that I would encourage most businesses to look at it from, is, just choose the option in which you've measured the return on that option. And if it makes sense for you, then double, triple down on it. This is one thing that taught us in the military, is like as a take home point on this. Whenever you're doing like a military action, especially for a defensive action, so if you're defending against an oncoming attack, every single military unit has a reserve. So this is a unit that's being held in the back. And so the natural way of using those reserves for most people is, hey, if something starts going bad over here, I'm going to take my reserves and reinforce it. But that's actually the last thing you want to do with reserves. And that's not their intended purpose. Reserves are intended to attack areas of opportunity. So if you're on the defense and you notice that you're, pushing the enemy back on one specific side, then you want to take their reserves and break through those lines and try and go after their headquarters unit with that reserve unit and, kill them from the back, essentially. And so it's the same approach on businesses. So like sometimes they'll have a cash reserve or something, they'll hold it, in reserve, like, oh, this thing isn't doing as well, like, let me try and put as much money into that as I can. It's like, no, you want to double, triple down on what's doing the best for you. And that's really the answer. So what order of things? It just depends on the business.
Okay. One thing that jumped into my mind while you were answering is a lot of people aren't tracking, where they don't know what's doing the best for them because they're not tracking stuff. And so like there's stuff, it's so simple too, especially with digital marketing, is like if people could be mailing postcards with a QR code on it, and they would never have any idea how many people are actually scanning the QR code. And literally all you have to do is add UTM parameters, and it's so easy. Google has a free tool that will do it for you in like 5 seconds. You type in, what do you want the source to be called? What do you want the medium to be called? What do you want the content or whatever it is? And it makes it for you. You tack it onto the end of the QR code, and boom, every time someone scanned one of them. And it's that simple. And that can be done across everything, and especially on if you're running Google ads and meta ads, and now ChatGPT has ads. That stuff can get tangled up so quickly. And so, being able to track all that stuff is, it's so easy now, and everybody should be doing that. Otherwise,
Yeah.
like you said, you don't know what you're doing, and then you would never know how to use those reserves if it came down to it. So then there would be no point in having reserves. What is a lesser known or lesser used marketing tactic that you think more people should know about?
I'll give the credit to this one on Alex Mosey because I just think he does this extremely, extremely well. A lot of business make the mistake of putting information out there and not putting offers. And this is when it comes to having like the marketing conversation or advertisement conversation, this is the box I like to unpack first because we have to move consumers over to decision makers. And I mean, if you think about yourself personally, like if I get on Facebook, if I get on TikTok, I have no intention of making a decision when I get on there. And so I have to have something come in front of my eyes or into my ears that forces my brain to go into decision-making mode. And at the same time, I have to do that in a way where it doesn't look like an advertisement. Because if I know it's an advertisement, I'm just going to scroll on by. And so when trying to use like marketing strategies or marketing tactics, you want to lead with offers, specifically attraction offers. And the way that I like to classify that is, if you can and it's reasonable, put a price point on it, put a date that it ends, and put a clear call to action on that thing, and the clear problem that you're solving. And so when someone comes across it who has that problem, who would like to be interested in engaging with the solution, and then they get cued onto the fact like, hey, this offer ends at this specific time, you're actually forcing their brain to go into decision-making mode. Because if they look at it like, oh my gosh, that's a week from now. It's like, okay, do I have the money for this? Do I have the time for this? Can I make this happen? Because I do have the problem and I do want to have the solution. You force them to go through this chain of thoughts in their mind. Whereas if you just say, hey, I sell lemonade. It's like, okay, well, I can get lemonade whenever I want. It's like, well, it's like there's no rush for me. I can just do it whenever. But it's like, hey, I'm gonna have a lemonade stand. I imported these lemons from Italy, 2 months ago. I'm only gonna have it on this or like an open market day, and this field this time. Come check it out because this is gonna be your only time to drink this lemonade. Well, now you've moved someone who's like, I can get lemonade whenever to like, oh, wait a second. This is something I might not be able to try ever again.
Right.
And so you're forcing them into that decision-making mode. And so it's important when you're doing anything, even if it's on a website. A lot of people like to put offers on a website. Like, hey, first-time visitor, you get this offer. It's like, okay, great. But if there's no limited time on when they need to redeem that offer, you haven't moved them into decision-making mode. You've actually just distracted them from the value of the information you have on the website. So it's moving people into decision-making mode with clear offers that encourages people to take action today instead of later.
Yeah. Yeah, I think kind of going on to, like you said, you can do the same thing on a website too. A lot of things, a big issue on homepages that I see when I audit people's websites and see what they've got going on currently is like, let's say a plumber. You land on their homepage and they're like, welcome to John's Plumbing. Like, my great grandpa started this company in 1850 and we all love each other so much and plumbing is so fun. And then the person reading it's like, that's great, but like my water heater just exploded all over my basement. Can you fix it? Or like, you just want to tell me about your grandpa? And so that's not to say don't do that. That's just to say that paragraph 1 of the homepage is not a good place to do that.
Yeah.
And so one thing that I really try to do, and this is, I would say in my opinion, this is even more for the user than it is for Google, because I'm usually thinking a lot more about Google than I am about the person. But there has to be a balance, right? Is put that on the homepage because maybe someone does care. Maybe that will be the reason, oh, wow, a 3rd generation plumbing company, not a nationwide chain. That's cool. I'm going to support them. Awesome. You just got to lead. But for the person who's panicking, whose toilet's overflowing, whose water heater just exploded, which is terrifying, for them to land on the page and read something like, we are here for the exact thing that just happened to you. And we are 24/7. We'll be there in 30 minutes, and we will make it right. Of course, you're going to call them.
Yeah.
And so, again, that's not to say don't talk about, your plumbing legacy. Like, it actually is cool, and I would love to hear about that in a networking setting. But you have to make sure that you are matching the searcher's intent when it comes down to it. So if I Google third generation or multi-generation plumbing company, I would want that about page to show, and I want to read all about you. If I Google, and especially now with LLMs and everything, because we're getting to longer tail keywords, my water heater just exploded, and it's 10 p.m. I need someone out here now. There's water everywhere, and Gemini or AI mode says Bob's Roofing does this like every day. They will take care of you because it read that paragraph. But then if someone lands on their homepage too, it's like, okay, yes, this person's going to help me. That's exactly what this paragraph says. And it's kind of the same thing as creating that offer of like, we're here for exactly what's going on right now, or a chiropractor too. Like, it's, again, I won't keep talking about the about us thing, but an example for a chiropractor, because, and you and I both know that chiropractors the majority of their customer base is not people who feel great and want to stay feeling great. Like, should everyone go to a chiropractor? Yeah, you should probably
absolutely
go at least once a month just to stay right, if you are right. But a lot of people have fallen and hurt themselves, a lot of car accidents, a lot of sports injuries and stuff like that. And so for them to say like, oh, you got tackled at your football game, we are a sports injury related clinic, and we're here for you. Like, get down here, we'll pop your knee back in, or whatever chiropractors do. But matching that intent is huge, because another big factor for Google ranking is if you do end up somehow ranking one, and then everyone who clicks onto your site is like, oh, this isn't what I needed, and clicks back in 3 seconds. Yeah. Google knows.
Yep.
We call that pogo sticking.
Yep.
And you will not be one for long if people keep doing that. And and it's the same thing. If I could tell any local business to do 2 things, I would say ask for reviews. People will leave them.
Mm-hmm.
People, like, the conversion chance of asking somebody to leave a review right after you provide them a service in person is like 90%.
Yeah, it's insane.
Like, I can't even personally imagine saying, no, I'm not going to leave your review if someone asks me.
Yeah, no.
Like, once they leave the door, if you text them or email them, I think it drops down to like 40% or something. Yeah,
so
you're losing a 50% conversion rate just like that. And so I would tell, and especially like chiropractors, I would say, like, if you crack someone's back and they feel awesome when they say, oh, I feel so much better, thank you, you say, cool, scan this. Tell everyone about how good you feel. And I mean, people could be getting so many reviews. I have one of my clients is a pressure washing company in Decula, Georgia, Kids Pro Wash, shout out. And when I started with him, I think he had like 105 reviews, and his goal for the end of the year was 200. He's at like 195 right now. Like, my phone goes off all day. I'm like, dude, you are awesome. I don't know what exactly he's doing. I guess he's just asking every client, and they're all doing it. But anyways, back to the 2 things that I would tell, and then I know you're running out of time, right? So we'll wrap up.
Oh, yeah.
Get reviews. Try to get as many reviews as you can. It's not so much how many reviews you have. It is about the frequency of reviews that you're getting.
Yes.
So if you have 100 reviews, but you're getting 2 a week, you will outrank someone with 3,000 reviews who hasn't gotten one for 7 months. Plain and simple. Well, all other things being equal, of course. And then the other one, what was my other one? I had 2 tips.
First, we were talking about the landing page, like making it relevant to the searches they're making, or a different one?
No. Oh, answer the phone. If someone calls you from your Google business profile, answer the phone.
Yes.
Because something that a lot of people don't know, and I think I told you this when we first got together in our first meeting, half the phones in this country-ish are Androids, which is owned by Google. So anytime someone on an Android calls someone on a Google business profile, Google knows, did they answer? How long did y'all talk for? Did they call somebody else after? So was their goal completed or not? And so if someone's ranking number 1 and they miss 10 phone calls a day, and rank number 5 answers every single time, and they talk for 5 minutes, and then that person doesn't call anyone else, at scale, that's a major ranking factor. So Get reviews and answer the phone. And if you can't answer the phone, hire someone to do it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Or get an AI agent.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's
but
so many AI agents that are like, there's a lot that are good enough to be better than no one.
Yeah. Yes, they're good enough to be better than no one, but I would say, dude, just answer your phone.
Agreed.
Because, a lot of people get mad about that. And I think actually Google, it's against their policy, but they don't enforce it. They have a lot of policies they don't enforce.
Yeah, like anybody else. Until one day.
All right, one more question. If you could give every entrepreneur one piece of advice, what would it be?
Wow. I think the one piece of advice is, before anything else, learn sales. Literally. And learn different varieties, different types, different kinds, different ways, and find the way that suits your personality. Because you might find the one person's like, this kind of sales is the best thing to do ever. And you try it out and it's just like failing over and over. Like, there's so many different ways to sell out there. Find the one that works for you, because sales just comes down to effective communication. Especially if the person you're trying to speak to has a problem to solve and they decide to not go with you, that means you failed them and you failed yourself, because you can give them the solution that they need. And some of it comes down to cost equations. That's like maybe 1% to 2% of the time, because people will pay for the things that they value.
So if the value's there, definitely.
Yeah, so I think sales is the number one skill set that I would train in first.
And figuring out your style too, I think is a really big part of it, because I personally don't do well as a high pressure salesman. Like I was never the guy, like I'll watch for fun, like some of these life insurance sales guys on YouTube, and their motto is like, go for the hang up.
Yep.
I'm like, that's crazy. Like, if they don't want it, they don't want it. But that's a tough market too. So
very tough.
Or like people will keep talking at your door until you slam it on them. And so I don't like that. I feel that if I have to go to that point, then I didn't provide enough value in the presentation, or I'm not the right fit for them, or it's bad timing. It could be a timing thing too. Somebody's maybe in the market, but not necessarily. They realize during the presentation that they're not ready yet. So, but I agree with you. That's a great answer. Yeah, sales is everything. There's not a single business on earth that doesn't sell something.
And literally, like it even just in life in general, like if you're trying to get somebody else to buy in on your idea, that's a sale. So like your ability to communicate that, it's in everything. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, even in non-business stuff. That's a great point. Awesome. All right, Nathan Patterson, thank you so much for coming on.
Glad to be here.
Go ahead and plug anything you want. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, and my website. So business name is Onyx Counsel and Consulting. Website is onyxcounsel.com, and that's COUNSEL.com, not CIL, because it gets confusing sometimes. But that's where you can find me. And it was a pleasure speaking with you, and it was fun chatting with you.
Yeah. And what's an ideal client? Who would you want to call you the most?
Ideal client for me is someone who's in consumer services, making more than $500,000 a year, and they have a team of less than 10. That's the perfect sweet spot, and we can scale that all day long.
Awesome. And anyone can reach me for SEO website consultation and Google Business Profile auditing and all that good stuff at www.hen.house. And that's it. Nathan, thanks again, and we'll see you guys next week.
Sounds good.
Bye.